How you doing? Uh, Tight ends. Should be fun.
And
Never is.
tight end.
Hey everyone! How are you all doing today? My name is Alec.
My name is Alex.
And welcome to the Alec and Alex Fantasy Show, or now the Alec and Alex Fantasy Experience.
Yeah,
welcome to our new YouTube channel.
We fully rebranded.
It's really been quite a transformation. I personally have really discovered new parts of my personality
You
and
have.
who I am as
That's
a
right.
human being because of this fantasy channel name
We should
switch.
get Are You Experienced t-shirts. Listen,
Wow. Now that's a step
that's
ahead.
probably my-
T-shirts farther down
probably
the
my
road.
third $1 million idea today. I'm on fire.
You're doing it.
I'm on fire.
Keep up with those.
Yeah, it's hot. Don't touch it. It's hot. No, you can't. No, I don't want you to touch it. It's very, see? It's very hot. I told him.
Anyway, so today we are going to go over tight ends. Tight ends are kind of a weird group, as you're going to see. They're the only group that we have a tier 0 for.
Tier 0 sounds so badass, doesn't it?
Yeah. They're generally in a weird place in the draft.
Yeah.
So when it comes to drafting a tight end, what is your overall strategy?
Well, with a tight end, and you'll see this in our rankings, we like 4 guys.
Yes.
We love 1 guy, and I'd say we strongly like 3 guys, right?
Yeah, and then numbers 5 to 12 are all startable, but they vary.
And will have to be started, yeah, for sure. And those first 4 guys are worth taking early.
Yes, so we'll start there. There's only one tight end that you can take in the first round, and that's Jimmy Graham. He is our tier 0, and we have him on his own because while talent-wise he's not necessarily ahead of Gronk, he tends to be healthier.
Mm-hmm.
And while Julius Thomas does not have the same injury issues, Jimmy Graham is the premier target in that Saints offense. He always gets red zone targets. Now, the only cause for concern, and the only reason you might pass on him on the 6th, 7th, maybe 8th pick, is because at the end of last season, teams started to game plan specifically for him because he was such a high-impact player. So you have teams like New England who decided to put Talib on him one-on-one. Talib shut him down.
Mm-hmm.
Same thing goes with when they played against Seattle. Cam Chancellor took him one-on-one. Got a goose egg there as well.
Yeah.
So on the one hand, you look at Jimmy Graham and you see the best combination of talent and durability and consistency at the position to the extent where he is clearly the number 1 guy that you want at the position, but you got to be a little weary. Is he worth a first-round pick? That's the question. What do you think?
I think he absolutely is. And I think you feel the same way, right? I remember last year we had that conversation, for those of you who are returning viewers, about, should you really jump for Jimmy Graham? And is it worth it to have a tight end that's going to win you the tight end matchup every week?
Mm-hmm.
And I was saying I think I'd maybe go for a little bit of depth at another position. I've totally changed my mind. Get Jimmy Graham.
Jimmy Graham, so what's the earliest you draft him at?
He's absolutely a first-round pick. And if he falls past the first round, you take him. I think you could start looking at him maybe with the 5th pick is, I think, the earliest I'd say, just because I love the first 4 running backs, and after that...
I don't think you can pick him before Calvin Johnson, is my only concern.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So I would say the earliest I'd look at him is the 6th.
Mm-hmm.
I agree, the top 3 running backs plus Forte, and then Calvin Johnson. Past that, you can start to look at him, and I think the latest, that you could even start to ignore him is the 9th pick, because by then he just offers such a huge jump over the rest of the position, and you just know you're going to be set pending.
Do you think it's crazy to imagine that he offers more positional value than Calvin Johnson, just because we do have a tier of receivers who are at least within spitting distance of Calvin Johnson?
I mean, I think
it's an argument, but you'd probably take Calvin Johnson over him.
You take Calvin Johnson over him, but there's a reason we have them so close to each other.
That's right. But I mean, don't be worried if you're the guy who ends up with Jimmy Graham in the first round. He's a great first-round pick.
I think, again, going back to how the Patriots and Seahawks in particular were able to game plan him, you don't see that quite as frequently with Calvin Johnson. He gets double-teamed and still puts up numbers. Jimmy Graham sometimes struggles a little more when he gets that attention. So I think that's why I have Calvin Johnson ahead. Although I've seen Jimmy Graham get picked before him, believe it or not. So definitely happens. Now moving on to our actual Tier 1, or Tier 1 aside from Jimmy Graham, which number 2, Julius Thomas, number 3, Rob Gronkowski, number 4, Vernon Davis. Now, these are the guys that we still expect to produce at an elite level if they play the whole season, and especially with Julius Thomas, we have no reason to assume that won't be the case. Gronk, definitely a lot more of a question, and Vernon, his head gets taken off every time he plays Seattle, but outside of that, he's not too much of a worry.
Yeah, all these guys are great. I think Julius Thomas is the safest of the three. And I also think maybe has the most
Gronk.
You think Gronk?
So,
but
if Gronk plays 16 games, I think he's number 1.
At this point, that's too difficult to imagine. Like, I don't think there's a world in which he plays 16 games.
I don't know about that.
You don't think so?
I think they're going to work harder to make sure that he does.
Yeah,
he's not going to be doing any or blocking any kicks.
Yeah, I mean,
they're gonna
use him. Probably not a good idea.
Yeah, they're gonna use him as minimally as they can outside of plays designed around him.
I guess.
So.
I don't know. I mean, well, anyway, Julius Thomas. I guess you could probably get him in the 3rd round.
Definitely,
and that's a great place for him.
Yeah, if he falls to the 4th, hallelujah.
Yeah.
But we love Julius Thomas. Rob Gronkowski. We did the same drill last year. It's not a matter of if he's good. We know he's insane.
Yeah, we know he's great.
Gronk is nuts. The thing is, his health is a huge concern. This past year did not reassure us at all. So with Rob Gronkowski, unlike the other ones we have in our Tier 1, you probably want a high-end backup like a Zach Ertz or a Delanie Walker.
Yeah.
We'll get to those guys in a bit. And Vernon Davis.
Had a good year last year. Michael Crabtree was missing for most of the year. Anquan Boldin was like the other primary target in the San Francisco offense. And, as recently as 2 years ago, we were afraid that Vernon Davis would totally fall off the fantasy radar because he wasn't getting the ball from Kaepernick.
Yeah.
So, not that I think that that's a problem, but it is something to maybe think about. Vernon Davis was great last year, but the San Francisco offense with Steve Johnson and with a
returning Crabtree.
Yeah, with a turning Crabtree, it looks like it would be a little better and maybe a little less work for Vernon Davis. But,
he also won't draw as much attention, you hope.
So, solidly in Tier 1, I guess, yeah.
Yeah, definitely. Going into Tier 2, we, at the top of it, have Jason Witten at number 5. He's probably the only guy we would have considered bumping up to Tier 1, but due to age and due to a relatively crowded Cowboys offense, we do have him at the top of Tier 2 instead. Number 6, Greg Olsen. Number 7, Jordan Cameron. Number 8, Jordan Reed. Number 9, Martellus Bennett. Number 10, Dennis Pitta. 11, Kyle Rudolph. And 12, Zach Ertz. Now, of these guys, oddly enough, I think 2 of the ones with the most upside are Greg Olsen and Zach Ertz. Now, what are your thoughts on those 2?
Well, we like Greg Olsen a lot. We don't really like the Carolina Panthers receiving options all that much.
Which is why we like him.
Yeah, you'd have to think that Greg Olsen's probably going to be the number 1 receiving option in that offense.
Unless Kelvin Benjamin really explodes.
He might have even been last year. I mean, he was there with Steve Smith. So we like him a lot. He's going to get a lot of work. He's solid, and he and Cam have worked together for a number of years, which is not something you can say about the other options they've brought in to play receiver. So you'd have to think that Greg Olsen's going to get more work, and he's been a very consistent tight end for a number of years now anyway. So you like Greg Olsen a lot, and we like Zach Ertz a lot, right? I mean,
absolutely.
We think that, Brent Selleck will start to recede, and Zach Ertz will be that guy in an explosive Philly offense.
We already started to see that takeover of the starting tight end job last year.
That's right.
Brent Selleck really didn't come too hot out of the gates, and he gave up more and more playing time as the season went on. And again, in such a fast-paced offense, having a starting tight end on your fantasy roster is pretty relevant. Zach Ertz, at the very worst, is a high-end backup, and I could see him starting for your team at some point in the future. He's just not quite proven enough for me to be too high on him or quite as high as some other people are.
Right, yeah, you'll have to see, but Do you think it's possible he doesn't get drafted? He's going to get drafted in every
He's going to
league,
get drafted.
Right?
Unless you're in like an 8-man league, then maybe. But of 10 and up, I expect Zach Ertz to be going.
And you could probably get him in what? You think maybe the 10th round?
It's going to vary.
Yeah.
A lot of people are spread on where he is. Like, I don't think...
I could see someone jumping and get him in like the 7th or something crazy like that. I could. You buy in that
maybe
Philadelphia offense.
Maybe the 8th.
I don't know.
Regardless, that does round out our... well, do you have any other comments on the Tier 2 guys? Anyone who stands out to you?
I mean, I like Jordan Reed. I think he has a little bit of upside. But, again, tight end, unless you have one of those top 4 guys that we talked about, is going to be a position you're worrying about week to week. And, you might find somebody on waivers during the year.
That said, there isn't a lot...
Yeah, go ahead.
There isn't a lot of large gap between any of these Tier 2 guys. So
I agree.
Once you miss out on the top 4, I do think you can hold off, and you don't need to be like, oh, all the good ones are going. I need to hurry up and get someone. Once they're gone, you can chill and maybe wait, get a Martellus Bennett like round 9, 10, 11.
Absolutely.
And be overall content.
And, have a good player at that position that, won't lose you any weeks.
Absolutely. And now finally going on to Tier 3 and rounding out our top 20. These are the guys that could be solid bye-week fill-ins. Some of them have a little more upside than others. Number 13, we've got Delanie Walker. 14, Charles Clay. 15, Eric Ebron. 16, Heath Miller. 17, Jared Cook. 18, Antonio Gates. 19, Tyler Eifert. And 20, we got Dwayne Allen. Now, we originally had Jason Morrow at number 20, but he's looked so bad this preseason that we bumped him off the list.
Kind of a shame. Jets could use a solid tight end. Yeah.
They really could, but he...
We'll see. You never know, but he has looked really bad. Yeah, it's true.
He's a guy I wouldn't expect to be drafted in most leagues at this point.
Absolutely not.
But guys, we do expect to be drafted. Charles Clay, he had some pretty solid games towards the late end of the season. He can definitely be a factor in the red zone. Eric Ebron, though, has this size.
Yeah, what do we think?
And
some people are saying Vernon Davis 2.0. Are you there?
I think that in 2 to 3 years he'll be at that. But right now, he still hasn't quite acclimated to a new offense and to the NFL. And with Golden Tate and Reggie Bush, in addition to Calvin Johnson,
a little bit crowded.
Got a lot of action going on, and he's the new kid on the block. So I wouldn't be too excited. I don't think he's a starting tight end going into the season, but of these lower-end guys that you can snag in a late round, he's got some of the most upside. That was Thunder, by the way.
Yeah, wow, it's crazy. In a dynasty league, maybe he's interesting. If you hold on to guys, have keepers, absolutely look for him. But yeah, I don't think he's going to contribute off the bat. You generally agree? A lot of talent, but might take some time to put together.
Yeah, a lot of upside, but not a starter going into the season. Now, as far as the San Diego tight end situation, Antonio Gates versus Ladarius Green. What are your thoughts?
Well, it seems like you can't read a fantasy football sleeper column without running into Ladarius Green's name, which must mean he's not really a sleeper. So, I don't know. Ladarius Green, great physical gifts, obviously. Does something that San Diego offense kind of might need a little bit, because they've moved to that West Coast scheme with a lot more underneath routes. Ladarius Green could be a guy who goes deep for them every once in a while, something that offense could use. But
he's competing with a Hall of Fame tight end.
Yeah, and he's competing with Antonio Gates, and I don't know why all of a sudden people have started to say that Ladarius Green is like such a sure shot to be a really good player this year.
The talent's definitely there.
Absolutely.
But we don't know what percentage of the timeshare he's necessarily going to get. It could vary week to week, which is why neither of these guys, Ladarius Green, we don't have in our top 20, but he's certainly on the fringe. Antonio Gates, we have down to number 18, which is the lowest I think I've ever seen him on a fantasy ranking at the beginning of a season. So kind of surreal in that sense.
I mean, all these guys have one thing in common. They're all great athletes. And I mean, that's kind of what the tight end position has become in the NFL. A big guy who runs like a receiver. I mean, with all the stuff that went on with Jimmy Graham and the franchise tag in the offseason, that really came to light. He's a tight end who plays like a receiver, so what do you call him? And that is sort of the situation with Ladarius Green. So we know that there are all these guys who are immensely talented physically, but not all of them have put it together. A guy like Jared Cook's another really good example.
Yeah, for sure. He's super, super unimpressive on that Rams offense so far.
He was good week one. He was crazy week one last year. Yeah.
And one last guy just to mention, Tyler Eifert. We're a little more up on him than we would be previous years because he continues to win over the timeshare at the starting tight end job, and that's relevant. Whereas last year it was like 50-50 with him and Gresham. It now looks like he's the guy, so thumbs up for Tyler Eifert.
Yeah, thankfully.
Could be a good guy to own.
Yeah, absolutely.
Any other thoughts?
On Eifert, no, I think you're right. I mean, as kind of the timeshare shifts in his direction, the needle's pointing up for Eifert. But again, a low-end option.
Yeah, he hasn't proven himself to be a legitimate player fantasy-wise quite yet. That's really all we've got right now. The tight end video was always kind of like it's a necessary part of life. It happens. Thank you for sticking in. You can like us on Facebook to get more fantasy tips, advice, and random shit that really doesn't apply.
That's probably the best way to ask us questions, right? If you have a question.
Whether it be in the comment section or on Facebook, those are two great places, and we will certainly respond to your inquiries there. And also just to interact with us, because
we're hilarious guys. I mean, let's get that out of the way.
But they already knew that.
Yeah, right. They knew that.
You get to see just how hilarious we are. Like now, you're thinking like, all right.
They're like, these guys. They love photos of Nate Burleson with pizza. I know that about these guys.
If there's one thing that I love more than a good hot pizza, it's a nice picture of Nate Burleson with a good hot pizza.
My God. The next time I eat pizza, I'm gonna be looking at a picture of Nate Burleson.
Next time I eat a pizza, I hope it's with Nate Burleson.
The last time I ate pizza, I was with you. Remember?
That is true, and it was quite excellent.
It was good pizza.
Oh, good times. Anyway, thank you guys for tuning in. Leave a like if you found this video helpful, and ask us if you have any questions. We will see you next time. Thanks for watching.